welcome to Wisdom Walk Talk here on Black Hole Radio and my YouTube channel, Wisdom Walk 2 Self-Mastery. I am your host and guide, Jojo Maria and Saroma. September initiates the third and final chapter of this 2020 transit of drastic change. The first chapter, January through April, was the breaking down. The second chapter, May through August, was the breaking up. And this final chapter, September through December, is the breaking through, which will lead to the 2021 breaking away. Yeah. As this final mineral month of the year, September brings divine opportunities for committing to or recommitting to alignment with a higher purpose, and to those who can support you with your inner renaissance. Through 4 live broadcasts and accompanying videos, I'll provide wisdom and insights for you on the inner renaissance journey, beginning tonight with the big breakdown. But first, just a reminder that when I'm broadcasting live, you can listen through the phone if you don't want to be on your computer. And that number is area code 563-999-3089. Again, 563-999-3089. I will upload a video of this broadcast probably by Wednesday, but I'll shoot for Tuesday on my YouTube channel, Wisdom Walk 2 Self-Mastery. Now, you can ask questions or leave comments on my Facebook page, which is Wisdom Walk Radio, or my website, which is www.wisdomwalk2selfmastery, or in the comments section below the YouTube video. But right now, I invite you to sit or lay back and join me for an exploration of the inner landscape and the inner renaissance, where you can connect to your soul and discover the true treasure of being human. Wow, wow, wow. September has started off very interesting. Just needed some water to wet my throat. We've got heat waves going on here in Southern California. For most of our summer, the weather was in the 70s. We barely got into the 80s, but today we're like I think it's about 93 right now. It might be a little warmer than that. So we got a little heat wave going. But I want to open the show, as I do every week, with taking a pause to honor the ancestors. And as I was doing in August, I'm going to continue honoring the new ancestors of 2020, not just from COVID, but also because of the death of the wonderful Chadwick Boseman. I'm including other people as well. This has been quite a year for loss, and this week, around the time that Chadwick was being buried, to dress in black. And so I did, from head to toe. And I did that for about 3 days because I needed to really just remind myself that I was grieving. And, of course, not just for Chadwick, but for so many people who have died this year because of COVID and because of our awareness, our greater awareness now about the injustices that are and have been going on. So it's been a really tough time. And so I think if we just pause to call out to the ancestors, ask them for their guidance, love, and help, that would be very, very good to do. So I ask and invite you to join me in this invocation, thinking about those persons that you know who may have crossed over this year, or just any ancestors that you want to connect with, whether they're blood-related or not. And I'm going to do this invocation so we can receive their support and also let them know how grateful we are to them for being guides for us. Creator, Mother, Father, God, Source, all the one, all that is, we thank you. We thank you. We thank you for your blessing and mercy in our lives and for yet another opportunity to be with you and to be close to you and to open up to your greater will and direction for us at this time. And so, Creator, I call out to the ancestors, especially to the new ancestors of 2020. And I say, ancestors, 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 we're calling out to you, asking you for your love, your guidance, and your wisdom. For we who are still here are still navigating through this time of unprecedented change. And so we could use your help, your guidance, your wisdom. Help us to stay safe from the COVID virus. Help us to not do foolish things or unscientific things that would have us spreading the disease. Help us to really know that we will get through this, but that in the meantime we do need to be patient and vigilant in terms of what we do and how we behave, and to really consider other people, to remember this isn't just about me personally, this is about all of us collectively on the planet. And so give us this greater wisdom, give us this support, give us this courage to continue to navigate through these times. And Creator, I ask and thank you for the blessing of the ancestors and for the blessings of all that we need at this time. In the name of all that is holy, I say amen. Ashe Aho Asa, Shika Bismillah, and so it is. Ashe. All right. Let me share elemental and astrological wisdom with you for this week. Astrologically, it's a lot of activity going on. But I'll start with the elemental wisdom, because currently we're in a fire week. Started on the 2nd of September, going to the 8th. And so this Wednesday, on the 9th, we will move into a mineral week. And here's the opportunity. It's about connecting with the souls of others. Yes. Unity consciousness is what makes us human. Communicate at a deeper level. We have the ability for compassion, understanding, forgiveness, and the 5th dimensional relationships. A huge part of living on purpose is to be willing to transcend the shallow surface of what people present to you. See into their hearts and connect with their essence. In this way, you must be deep and simple with your own self and connected to your own soul. This is what the age of illumination is all about. Use the healing energy of mineral, which is stones, crystals, bones, and shells, to illuminate your higher self and that of others. Now, here are the distractions to be aware of for this coming week starting Wednesday. The first one is about feeling sorry for people and taking on their pain. Never a good idea. If you really want to help someone, say a prayer for them. Say a prayer for them. Believe that they can shift up and shift out of whatever situation they find themselves in. False obligations because you forget you are worthy. Yeah. Victim consciousness. Always be on the lookout for that. Anxiety and impatience. Yes, yes, yes. And last but not least, gossip, judgments, and blaming, because none of those will support you in connecting to your soul, and definitely not connecting to the soul of others. Now, the Wednesday after this one, on the 16th, we move into a water week, and that's going to be a time for reconciliation. Yeah, and I'll remind you all about that in the next broadcast and video. Now, a reminder about Earth Day in September, as in every month, it's on the 22nd, and that will be a Tuesday. I do hope that you are continuing to cut down on your use of paper and plastic. I ask again that you stay very mindful about the use of your fossil fuel powered car, and to commit to essential use only as much as you can. Again, do go to the Earth Day website, which I'm flashing on the screen. It's www.earthday.org, and go to today's action section to become more familiar with how you can help make sure that this planet is around for the 7 generations that come after us. There is a lot going on right now in the news about looking at how the Arctic, how the polar cap is melting, how the ice is melting, also in Antarctica. And so these things are very real, and they do affect our climate. Now, some of these things, yes, humans have contributed to. Some of it is just the nature of how the earth works. But in either way, we can still do our part to make sure we cut down on the carbon emissions that really, really would make this an uninhabitable planet for all of us and for all living things. Now, moving right into the astrology. Wow, again, a very active week. And September is particularly of interest to the astrologers because although January 12th was the time for the great conjunction between Saturn and Pluto in the sign of Aquarius, and that was the exact conjunction point, meaning when they exactly were together, we get another kind of amplified period because they're kind of re-entering into that conjunction closeness. And so this is happening in September. So what does that mean? That means that, yeah, remember what it was like back in January into March? As things were getting a little turned up. Yeah, so that's what the energy is in September. The good news is that because we've went through January into March, we kind of have a better understanding and we're a little more prepared for it. So, you know, remember that this is a time to use good sense and good judgment around what is happening in your life and in the world. So let me share with you some of what's going on this week. So yesterday on the 5th, we had Mercury going into Libra, and today, the 6th, we have Venus going into Leo. And this is all about harmony and love, a lovingly showing up as your true self. That's what the energy is supporting. It's also a time that you should be getting some evidence that the inner work you've been doing has been paying off, because this is going to help you stay committed to this course of healing and growth that you have started, hopefully very consciously, in March. So that's the good energy, or the loving energy, let me say, that has shown up for us to be in, because we're going to need it. We're going to need it because on the 9th of September, and it goes until the 13th of November, we have a Mars retrograde in its home sign of Aries. Now, Mars is, of course, the god of war, and so that means that, you know, there's opportunity for a lot of conflict, violence, wars can break out. And Mars goes retrograde, this is interesting, only every 2 years. And so the last time it went retrograde was in 2018. But the last time that it was retrograde in its home sign of Aries, that was 1988. So for those of you who were born before that time, you can think back to what was going on in the summer of 1988. Yeah. And also the retrograde of Mars in Aries won't happen again until 2067. Yeah. So this is significant. This is significant. So this retrograde energy provides time to be focused, determined, and ready to take action into the new is most beneficial. Yeah. Like, don't be focusing and determined to go backwards. Really focus on going into the unknown, into the new. Because Mars is in a catalytic square aspect with Pluto and Saturn. That means it's a catalyst for that breaking up, breaking apart energy that the Saturn and Pluto conjunction have brought. So by the end of September, the astrologers say that there will be numerous conflicts around the globe for and against what no longer serves our human evolution as divine beings. So be aware of that, but know that you can use your Mars energy not for conflict, but for really being able to get focused and determined on, okay, where do I want to be in 2021? How do I want to be living my life? What is it I'm now really, really ready for, you know? So you want to use that energy in that way, not going back to the past. Now, on the 12th of September, this also interesting aspect, we have Jupiter going direct. It's been retrograde since May 14th, and in Capricorn, where Pluto and Saturn continue their retrograde dance. Now, Jupiter will expand your new awareness of the post-COVID existence and bring new opportunities aligned with new purpose. Okay, that's what that energy does, because it'll be expansive. Now, if you're still holding on to pre-COVID existence belief systems, ideas, understandings, whatever, well, Jupiter's going to really help you get a very clear learning that it's time to let all of that go. Yeah. It will really help you understand what can no longer work, and that's pretty important for the times we're living in. So just know that this first 15 days of September, again, this very loving energy starts out, but then it's like, okay, let's go to work. Let's go to work here. And again, remember, we always have a choice about how we're going to use the energies that the heavens are bringing to us. Yes, yes, yes. So here's my overview for tonight. I'm going to first talk and define Renaissance for you by alluding to both the European Renaissance and the Harlem Renaissance. Then I'm going to talk about the inner Renaissance journey. I'm going to define that for you. And then I'm going to talk about the big breakdown and what that means by sharing a story of a friend. And then last but not least, I will share contemplative questions. My quote for tonight comes from a great writer from the Harlem Renaissance and a great artist, philosopher, architect, inventor from the European Renaissance period. And so Zora, Neale, Hurston, and Leonardo da Vinci. And here's what they say. Zora says, the present was an egg laid by the past that had the future inside its shell. And Leonardo says, I love those who can smile in trouble, who can gather strength from distress and grow brave by reflection. Yeah. So, Renaissance, what is that? It's a French word that means rebirth. And what happens in Europe 1,000 years after the fall of Rome, because Rome ruled the world. So when it fell in the 400s, and you go into what's called the Dark Ages, the Middle Ages. But in the 14th century, things begin to bloom. Things begin to open up. And it lasted from about the 14th century to the 17th century. Now, the Harlem Renaissance, it comes 40 years after the end of slavery. And it lasted from the 1910s into the 1930s. The European Renaissance was about revival and revealing of art, literature, science, architecture, new religious and political ideas, and a zest for learning, especially learning from the ancient Greeks and Romans. So here are a few names associated with that period. Leonardo da Vinci, Michelangelo, Copernicus, Galileo, Sir Isaac Newton, Marco Polo, Magellan, and William Shakespeare. So as you see, it was a very, very powerful time, definitely influenced our modern times that we're living in. Now, in the Harlem Renaissance, it's rooted in a reconceptualizing of the Negro, as black people were called then, and it was done to dispel and cancel out the stereotypes that had been created and were being created by whites, especially whites in the South. So here are some famous names associated with the Harlem Renaissance period. Alan Leroy Locke, considered the dean of the Harlem Renaissance, he coins the word. Zora Neale Hurston, Langston Hughes, James Weldon Johnson, W.E.B. Du Bois, Duke Ellington, Louis Armstrong, Paul Robeson, Bojangles, U.B. Blake, and James Van Der Zee, the great photographer of that period of black people. So, as you can see, a renaissance, this rebirth, this reflowering, this kind of like opening up and really kind of demonstrating, putting on display, if you will, humanity's gifts, talents, and genius. So it's a very, very powerful time. And also the European Renaissance comes after the plague in Europe. And although the plague does happen over those 3 centuries, again, the first time it happened was the most, of course, devastating and powerful. And so it's interesting parallels to what we're going through with COVID, you know, to have great numbers of people dying all at the same time. And then what you're left with and what you have to deal with. You know, so there's a parallel to that. And that's why I do believe that we are on a track to be in a Renaissance period on the planet, not just in one country or one place. I think it is a global thing that is happening. So inner Renaissance, what is that? That is a reawakening, a rebirthing of the authentic self, your authentic self, through the unfettered, meaning unstopped, unblocked expression of your gifts, your talents, and your genius that you may have kept hidden or underutilized. An inner renaissance is a commitment to live your true purpose in life. So, you know, if you have pushed aside things that you really love to do so that you could work a job and make enough money, yeah, you may be at a point where you're rethinking that. And that's what I mean by the big breakdown. The big breakdown is this rethinking of who we are, what we can do, what we can have, what we can be, how we can be, where we can be even. You know, it's this reawakening inside of us that there's something more. There's something more for me. There's something more I need to do. But to get to that, we usually have to go on this journey where things break down, things break up, and then we get a breakthrough, and then we do our breaking away into the new. So here's a quick story, real story that just happened last week to a friend of mine. It gives you a great example, a very powerful example of how this inner renaissance is working in our lives right now. So the big breakdown, my friend's car just stops working, and she is able to get it to a mechanic because at first the engine wouldn't turn over, nothing was happening. Then it lets her get it to a mechanic, and the mechanic looks at it and says, well, your engine's shot, it didn't have any oil in it. And she's like, what do you mean it didn't have any oil? I just changed the oil, you know, last month. It should be okay. And I haven't seen any oil leaking on my car. And they're like, well, the engine's shot. So there she is, the engine is shot, and she's a single mom who just got the child support stopped because her oldest child is now going to college. She's in a house. Thanks to COVID situation, she's been able to hold back on the mortgage payments, but she was in this position of like, oh my God, how can I afford a new car when I'm even trying to figure out, can I keep up my mortgage payments because I don't have this other money coming in? What am I going to do, right? So that's a huge breakdown, right? That's at the level of survival breakdown. And so we have a conversation and I remind her, you know, if you took care of your car and it broke like this, that's not on you. That's the universe. That's God telling you that there's something more coming for you. So you need to open up to that. But you can't open up to that if you're all scared and you're all balled up. So you do some prayers, get still, and just open up so that you can get some guidance. And so she does. And this was on a Tuesday. She gets guidance, and she follows her guidance. And by Saturday, she's driving a new car. Yeah. You can't imagine, right? But what happens is she goes through this renaissance. She begins to realize that, wait a minute, I'm not supposed to not have a car. I'm not supposed to not have a house. I'm a good person. I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. And I believe in God. I have a faith, and let me put that to work. And so she gets this, everything works out, right? So the dealership, it's the end of the season, so they're trying to sell their cars, right? So they give you these rebates. So the car didn't cost as much as it would if she had tried in March. She's got good credit. The bank, she even owed money on the car that broke down. But the bank was like, oh, you're good. Come on, we'll just add the new car in there, and we'll give you 75 months or whatever, and it's like, and the car payments come to an amount very close to what she was already paying, and it just all worked out. When she went on Saturday, she thought she was just going to go and test drive, and she sent me a picture like, this is my car, and I'm like, what? You mean you're driving it already? So I love that story, because to me it really illustrates how powerful this renaissance is within us, what's working. That even in the face of great fear, when you get that great breakdown, that's a call for you to move to a bigger level, to go to a higher level in terms of who you are and what is really going on, what this is really about. And believing in yourself, believing that you can have what you need, especially the basic things, we all should be able to have that. So here's some contemplative questions for you in regards to the big breakdown and your inner renaissance. Number one, what's a big breakdown that you've experienced since March 2020? And take your time to think about all of them, because I think we've all had a lot, especially as COVID shows up. So what are the big breakdowns that you've experienced? Next, what did you learn about yourself, and what new decisions have you made for and about yourself since the big breakdowns? Yeah, really important question. What is the learning? And then last but not least, what would you like your inner renaissance to be for you? What do you want to experience as a result of a powerful and loving inner shift in your consciousness? What do you want your inner renaissance to be for you? As always, I will post this personal challenge in the description box below this video. And I also will try to post it on my Wisdom Walk page on Facebook. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to my YouTube channel and hit the bell for all postings. And I thank you very much. So I'm going to close out tonight first with, of course, thanking my wonderful engineer, Miss Yvette Parker, who herself is going through a personal inner renaissance, and I wish her very well with that. She seems to be very clear. And to her and all of the Black Hole Radio Be Well family, thank you for holding space and holding the line for me to be able to do this important work. I want to shout out to all my regular listeners out there, especially my #1 fan, Miss Sarah. Yes, and Miss Sarah has been around to have many personal renaissances, which I'm very privileged that she has shared with me. And I know that right now she too is going through one. So As long as we're living and breathing, folks, we're going to keep growing. We're going to keep expanding, keep becoming the best version of ourselves. And to all those who have wisdom walk with me, and you know who you are, to my family, my spiritual kin, my transformational leadership colleagues, and my medicine brothers and sisters all around the world, and those who may be listening or watching for the first time, thank you, thank you, thank you. I couldn't do this work without your support. Now, next week I'll continue my theme of your inner renaissance journey with the big break up. Yeah. The book, Wisdom Walk to Self-Mastery, Ancient Wisdom for Transforming Pain. It is available through Amazon, Barnes & Nobles. It is available as Kindle. I am working on an audio version, and hopefully we'll have that done by the end of this year. And last but not least, I want to thank my God, my ancestors, my spirit guides and loving entities, everything that walks with me, keeps my head to the sky, my feet to the ground, and my heart open to do this important work with and for all of you. Now, have a safe and very, very healthy Mineral Week. Continue to wear your mask, especially in public and especially around crowds. Practice social distancing and safe relating. Avoid perceived safety and embrace and choose science safety around COVID. And do remember, please remember that you are not disposable. You are divine. Good night now.